The sun dipped low over the Atlanta skyline on that crisp autumn evening, casting a warm, amber hue across the bustling streets of Buckhead. It was October 15, 2025, and Celeste Montgomery, at 63 years old, felt a renewed sense of vitality as she prepared for her annual family gathering. The previous year had been a whirlwind of recovery and rediscovery after the harrowing betrayal by her daughter-in-law, Allison Whitlock. But time, that gentle healer, had woven its magic, mending the fractures in her heart and strengthening the bonds with her son Marcus. Now, as she adjusted the delicate silver necklace around her neck, a gift from her late husband, she couldn't help but smile at her reflection in the antique mirror of her cozy lakeside home near Lake Lanier. Celeste's new residence was a sanctuary of serenity, a two-story cottage with weathered white clapboard siding and a wraparound porch adorned with hanging baskets of vibrant petunias and ivy. The air carried the faint scent of pine from the surrounding woods, mingled with the earthy aroma of her meticulously tended garden. Roses bloomed in defiant reds and pinks along the picket fence, and a small herb patch, basil, rosemary, and thyme, flourished under her careful nurture. It was here, in this haven, that she had rebuilt her life, piece by painstaking piece, after the poison that had nearly claimed it. Marcus arrived promptly at 6 p.m., his sleek black SUV crunching over the gravel driveway. He stepped out, his broad shoulders filling the frame of his tailored suit, a far cry from the haggard man he had been during Allison's trial. His eyes, a deep brown inherited from his father, sparkled with genuine warmth as he enveloped Celeste in a hug. "Mom, you look amazing," he said, his voice laced with affection. Trailing behind him was Sarah, his new girlfriend, a kind-hearted elementary school teacher with curly auburn hair and a smile that could light up the darkest room. She carried a bouquet of lilies, Celeste's favorite, and a homemade apple pie still warm from the oven. "Thank you, dear," Celeste replied, her voice steady and melodic, belying the subtle tremors of excitement. "And Sarah, how thoughtful." Come in. Dinner's almost ready." The evening was meant to celebrate not a birthday, but a milestone, the one-year anniversary of Celeste's liberation from the shadows of betrayal. The table was set with her finest china, inherited from her mother, Grandma Margaret, whose inheritance had unwittingly sparked Allison's greed. Candlelight flickered softly, illuminating the roasted chicken with herbs from the garden, garlic mashed potatoes, and a fresh salad dotted with heirloom tomatoes. Marcus poured glasses of sparkling water. Celeste had sworn off alcohol after the incident, a small but symbolic act of reclaiming control. As they settled into conversation, the atmosphere was light and filled with laughter. Marcus shared stories from his work at the State Farm office downtown, where he had recently been promoted to senior manager. Sarah spoke animatedly about her students' latest art projects, her enthusiasm infectious. Celeste, ever the gracious host, regaled them with tales from her yoga classes at the YMCA and her recent foray into watercolor painting. "I've even sold a few pieces at the local farmer's market," she said proudly, her blue eyes twinkling. But beneath the surface of this idyllic scene lurked an undercurrent of unease that Celeste couldn't quite shake. It had started a few weeks earlier, subtle things, like misplaced keys she swore she had left on the hook, or a faint, unfamiliar scent in her bedroom that reminded her of hospital antiseptic. She dismissed them as remnants of paranoia, echoes from the past when Allison had systematically eroded her confidence. Marcus, too, seemed on edge, glancing at his phone more frequently than usual, his brow furrowing at unseen messages. As dessert was served, Sarah's pie, flaky and cinnamon-scented, Celeste excused herself to fetch coffee from the kitchen. The room was bathed in the soft glow of twilight filtering through lace curtains, and the distant call of a loon on the lake added a haunting melody to the evening. When she returned, balancing a tray with steaming mugs and a plate of biscotti, she noticed Marcus's hand tremble slightly as he accepted his cup. "Everything all right, son?" she asked, her maternal instinct kicking in. He nodded too quickly. "Of course, Mom. Just work stuff." Sarah smiled reassuringly, but Celeste caught a fleeting look exchanged between them, a look that spoke of secrets. Her heart quickened, memories of that fateful birthday dinner flooding back, the folded note, the swapped wine glasses, Allison's collapse. She pushed the thoughts aside, chiding herself for suspicion. These were her loved ones, her anchors. The coffee was rich and aromatic, brewed from beans Celeste had ground herself that morning. She took a sip, savoring the warmth that spread through her. Conversation resumed, shifting to plans for the holidays. Marcus suggested a family trip to Portland to visit Celeste's sister, an idea that filled her with joy. But as minutes ticked by, a strange fog began to cloud her mind. Her vision blurred at the edges, and a wave of dizziness washed over her. I feel a bit off, she murmured, setting down her mug with a clatter. Marcus was at her side in an instant, his face etched with concern. Mom? What's wrong? Sarah's eyes widened. Should we call an ambulance? Celeste tried to wave them off, but her words slurred. Just tired. Maybe low blood sugar. But deep down, a primal fear ignited. This sensation, it was eerily familiar, like the early days of Allison's poisoning, when small doses of digoxin had masqueraded as age-related fatigue. As her strength ebbed, Celeste's gaze fell on the coffee tray. There, tucked beneath a napkin, was a small vial half empty, its label partially visible, sedative, for emergency use only. Her mind raced. Who? How? Marcus's phone buzzed again, and he silenced it hastily. Marcus, she whispered, her voice barely audible. What's happening? He knelt beside her, tears welling in his eyes. Mom, I'm so sorry. I didn't know how else to do this. The room spun, and darkness encroached. In her last conscious moments, Celeste realized with chilling clarity that betrayal had returned, not from the shadows of the past, but from the heart of her present. When Celeste awoke, the world was a sterile blur of beeping machines and fluorescent lights. She was in a hospital bed at St. Jude Medical Center, the same place where Allison had been rushed a year ago. 4 lines snaked into her arm, and a monitor tracked her steady heartbeat. Confusion gripped her. How had she gotten here? The last thing she remembered was the coffee, the dizziness, Marcus's apologetic eyes. A nurse entered, her scrubs a cheerful blue. Mrs. Montgomery? You're awake. How are you feeling? Weak, Celeste croaked. What happened? You were brought in last night with symptoms of sedative overdose. Your son called 911. The doctors pumped your stomach and administered countermeasures. You're lucky, it could have been worse. Sedative overdose. Zevial. Celeste's mind sharpened. Where's Marcus? He's in the waiting room with his girlfriend. They've been here all night. Celeste nodded, piecing together fragments. It couldn't be Marcus. He had been her rock through the Allison ordeal. But the apology in his voice. She requested to see them. Marcus entered first, his face pale and drawn, Sarah close behind. Mom, thank God, he said, rushing to her bedside. What did you do? Celeste demanded, her voice gaining strength. Marcus sank into a chair, burying his face in his hands. It wasn't meant to hurt you. I swear. It was just to make you rest. Rest? You drugged me. Sarah interjected gently. Celeste, let him explain. It's not what you think. Marcus took a deep breath. After everything with Allison, I've been terrified of losing you. You've been pushing yourself so hard, speaking engagements, yoga, painting, gardening. You're 63, Mom. I see you tiring, but you won't slow down. Sarah and we thought if we could get you to the hospital for a checkup, force you to rest, maybe run some tests. You drugged my coffee to fake an illness? Celeste's outrage mixed with disbelief. It was a mild sedative, Sarah admitted. From my prescription for anxiety. We only put in enough to make you drowsy, to scare you into seeing a doctor. But something went wrong, you reacted badly. Celeste stared at them, the betrayal stinging like salt in an old wound. You manipulated me. Just like she did. Marcus's eyes filled with remorse. No, Mum. Not like her. We did it out of love, not greed. I couldn't bear the thought of you collapsing from exhaustion. After Dad's Alzheimer's, after Allison. I panic at every sign of you slowing down. The room fell silent, save for the rhythmic beeps. Celeste's anger softened as she saw the fear in her son's eyes, the same fear that had blinded him to Allison's schemes. But this was different, misguided love, not malice. Before she could respond, the door opened again. Detective Lieutenant Lee entered, her graying hair pulled into a neat bun, her expression grave. "Mrs. Montgomery, good to see you awake. We need to talk." Celeste's heart skipped. "Detective? Why are you here?" "The hospital reported a possible poisoning. Given your history, they called me directly." Marcus paled further. "It wasn't poison. It was a mistake." Lee raised an eyebrow. "Then explain." As Marcus and Sarah confessed their foolish plan, Lee's face hardened. "This is serious. Drugging someone without consent is assault, even with good intentions." Celeste intervened. "Detective, please. They're family. Stupid, but not criminal." Lee sighed. "I'll need statements. But first, there's something else. While investigating this, we uncovered anomalies in your recent medical records." "What anomalies?" Celeste asked. "Subtle alterations. Dates changed, symptoms exaggerated. It looks like someone has been tampering with your files to make it seem like you're experiencing cognitive decline again." The room chilled. Marcus whispered, "Allison? From prison."
Lee shook her head. "She's under maximum security.
"No access. But we're looking into it." As Lee left to coordinate with hospital security, Celeste's mind whirled. Who would want to undermine her now? She had enemies from her public speaking, families exposed by her stories of elder abuse. Or perhaps a copycat, inspired by Allison's crimes. That afternoon, after discharge papers were signed and promises extracted from Marcus and Sarah to never interfere again, Celeste returned home. The cottage felt less like a sanctuary now, its shadows longer in the fading light. She brewed herbal tea, chamomile, soothing and safe, and sat on the porch, watching the lake's surface ripple under a gentle breeze. Her phone buzzed. It was Jada Reynolds, the young nursing student who had saved her life a year ago. Their friendship had blossomed into something profound, like a granddaughter she never had.
"Celeste?
I heard about the hospital.
Are you okay?" "I'm fine, dear.
Just a scare." Jada's voice was urgent. "Listen, I've been doing some digging. Remember how I suspected Allison had accomplices at Serenity Pines?"
"I found the meeting."
Celeste's grip tightened. "What?" "A former employee, a nurse named Carla Vance. She left abruptly after your case broke. I tracked her down. She's in Atlanta, working at a private clinic. And get this, she's been accessing your medical portal."
The piece clicked.
"Why?" "I don't know yet. But she's meeting someone tonight at a cafe downtown. I can go observe."
"No, Jada. It's dangerous. Call Detective Lee."
But Jada, ever determined, insisted.
"I'll be careful. For Grandma Elena, for you."
That evening, as Celeste paced her living room, its walls adorned with her own paintings, vibrant landscapes of Lake Lanier at dawn, worry gnawed at her. Marcus and Sarah had gone home, chastened, but the tampering revelation lingered like a storm cloud. At midnight, Jada called back, breathless. "Celeste, it's worse than we thought. Carla was meeting a lawyer. They're planning to challenge your competency. Something about contesting Grandma Margaret's will." Celeste's blood ran cold. "Who hired them?" "I couldn't hear everything, but the lawyer mentioned family interests." "Celeste, could Marcus?" "No," Celeste said firmly. But doubt crept in. Marcus had been pressuring her lately about financial planning, echoing Allison's old tactics. Was his fear a cover? The next day dawned gray and rainy, mirroring Celeste's mood. She drove to Marcus's house in Midtown Atlanta, a modern condo with sleek lines and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Sarah answered the door, her face etched with guilt from the previous night.
"Celeste, come in."
"Marcus is in the study." She found him hunched over his desk, papers scattered. "Mom? What is it?" "Tell me the truth, Marcus. Are you involved in tampering with my records?" His eyes widened. "What? No. Why would you think that?" "Jada found a nurse from Serenity Pines meeting a lawyer about my competency. About the will."
Marcus stood, shock evident.
"Mom, I swear it's not me. But Sarah mentioned something yesterday. Her brother is a lawyer. He's been asking about your estate, saying we should protect it from predators. I told him to drop it. Sarah entered, overhearing. My brother? Tom? He's aggressive, but he wouldn't. Celeste's intuition flared. Call him. Now. Tom arrived an hour later, a sharp-dressed man in his 40s with a predatory gleam. Under questioning, he cracked. It was for your own good. Sarah told me about your episodes. I hired Carla to monitor your records, adjust them if needed, to build a case for guardianship. Marcus would be protector, it's family.
You mean control the money, Celeste said icily. Tom shrugged.
Inheritance is tricky.
Better in safe hands.
The betrayal stung, but it was external this time, not from her core family. Detective Lee was called, and Tom was arrested for fraud and hacking. Carla, when confronted, confessed to being blackmailed by Tom over old debts from her time at Serenity Pines. As the dust settled, Celeste gathered Marcus, Sarah, and Jada at her cottage for a heart-to-heart. The rain had cleared, leaving the air fresh and the lake sparkling. They sat on the porch, sipping lemonade made from garden lemons. I've learned, Celeste began, her voice resonant with wisdom, that betrayal can come in many forms. From greed, like Allison's.
From fear, like yours, Marcus.
From opportunism, like Tom's. But each time, I've risen stronger.
Marcus nodded, tears streaming.
Mom, I'll never doubt you again. Or try to protect you without asking. Sarah added, and I'll cut ties with Tom if needed. Family is what we build, not blood alone. Jada smiled.
You're my inspiration, Celeste.
In geriatric care, I'll teach others to spot these signs. The evening unfolded into shared stories and laughter, the bonds reforged in the fire of adversity. Celeste looked out at the lake, where a family of ducks glided peacefully. Life, she mused, was like that water, ever-changing, sometimes turbulent, but always flowing forward. Months later, Celeste's public speaking had evolved into a non-profit foundation, Elders Guardians, dedicated to protecting seniors from abuse. Jada joined as a board member, her nursing degree fresh in hand. Marcus volunteered, his promotion allowing flexible time. Sarah designed educational materials for schools, teaching children about respecting elders. One crisp spring day, Celeste stood on stage at a conference in Atlanta, her silver hair gleaming under spotlights. My name is Celeste Montgomery, she declared, and I am a survivor. Twice over. Betrayal tried to dim my light, but I refused to fade. Remember, our elders are not burdens, they are beacons. Protect them, honor them, and learn from them. The applause was thunderous, but Celeste's greatest reward was the peace in her heart. At 63, she had not just survived, she had thrived, turning pain into purpose, darkness into dawn. As she drove home to Lake Lanier, the sun setting in a blaze of gold, Celeste whispered a thank you to the universe. For Jada's courage, Marcus's redemption, and her own unyielding spirit. Life stories, she knew, were written not in ink, but in resilience. In the weeks following the hospital incident, Celeste delved deeper into her painting, using art as therapy. Her studio, a converted sunroom overlooking the lake, was filled with canvases depicting stormy skies giving way to rainbows, metaphors for her journey. One piece, titled Betrayed Waters, showed a turbulent lake with a single boat navigating through, symbolizing her resilience. She recalled her childhood in rural Georgia, where her father taught her to fish on similar lakes. Those memories, pure and untainted, fueled her creativity. Art heals what words cannot, she told Jada during one of their coffee meetings at a quaint cafe in Gainesville. Jada, now 24, had her own story to share. After Grandma Eleanor's death, I spiraled. Dropped out of college for a semester, worked odd jobs. But investigating Allison pulled me back. Now, with the foundation, I feel like I'm honoring her. Their conversations often turned to Eleanor Washington, a woman of remarkable strength. Born in 1940s Alabama, she had migrated north during the civil rights era, working as a seamstress to support her family. She made my prom dress, Jada reminisced, with intricate lace she sewed by hand. She was magic with a needle. Celeste shared stories of her own grandmother, Margaret, whose inheritance had been the catalyst for Allison's plot. Margaret had been a schoolteacher, instilling in Celeste a love for learning. She left me not just money, but lessons in generosity. Meanwhile, Marcus struggled with guilt. In therapy, he explored his fears rooted in his father's Alzheimer's. Watching Dad forget me, it broke something inside. With Allison, I was blind. With you, Mom, I overcompensated. Sarah, too, reflected on her role. Growing up with Tom as a brother, I learned to appease bullies. But no more. I'm standing up. The Foundation's first event was a gala at the Atlanta Botanical Garden. Strings of lights twinkled like stars amid exotic flowers, orchids in purples and whites, roses in full bloom. Guests included survivors of elder abuse, lawyers, and policymakers. Celeste's speech moved many to tears. We are not defined by our age or our scars, but by our spirit. Detective Lee attended, updating on the case. Tom's trial is set. Carla flipped, giving evidence on Serenity Pine's corrupt practices. We're shutting it down. As the gala ended, Celeste danced with Marcus under the stars, a slow waltz to jazz music. We've come far, son. Yes, Mom. And we'll go further. In the following months, the story took another twist. A letter arrived, not from Allison, but from a woman claiming to be her half-sister, Vanessa Peters. I knew what she did. I want to make amends. Skeptical, Celeste met Vanessa at a neutral spot, a park by the Chattahoochee River. Vanessa, in her 30s with striking resemblance to Allison, explained, our mother was abusive. Allison learned manipulation to survive. I escaped, she didn't. Not excusing her, but perhaps understanding. Celeste listened, empathy stirring. Why now? To warn you. Allison's appealing her sentence. She's claiming coercion by others at the residence. The appeal hearing was tense, in a downtown courthouse with mahogany benches and high ceilings. Allison, shackled but composed, testified. I was forced by the director. He threatened me. But evidence, emails, witnesses, debunked her. Jada's testimony sealed it. I saw her evil firsthand.
No coercion, pure Quasse.
The appeal denied. Allison screamed obscenities as she was led away. Celeste felt closure.
Back home, life bloomed.
Celeste's garden expanded, with vegetable patches yielding tomatoes, zucchinis, and peppers. She hosted community classes on self-defense for seniors, teaching awareness and trust in instincts. One summer day, as fireflies danced over the lake, Marcus proposed to Sarah on the porch.
Celeste, witnessing, tears of joy flowing. Welcome to the family, truly.
The wedding was intimate, at the cottage. Vows exchanged under an arch of garden roses, Jada as maid of honor. Celeste's toast, love isn't perfect, but it's persistent. Like us. Years passed in this vein, the story of betrayal fading into legend, replaced by tales of triumph. At 65, Celeste published a memoir, Shadows to Sunrise, topping bestseller lists. Proceeds funded scholarships for nursing students like Jada, who now ran a clinic for elders. In quiet moments, Celeste sat by the lake, reflecting. The water, once a symbol of turmoil, now mirrored peace. She had forged a new narrative, one of strength, forgiveness, and unbreakable bonds. The memoir's launch was at the local library, where Celeste had joined the book club. The room, lined with shelves of leather-bound tomes and modern paperbacks, smelled of paper and possibility. Friends, family, and strangers attended, eager for signed copies. A reader approached, "Your story saved my mother." We spotted the signs in her caregiver. Such moments affirmed Celeste's purpose. Jada's clinic, Eleanor's Haven, opened in a renovated building in Atlanta's West End. Bright walls painted in soothing blues, rooms equipped with state-of-the-art monitors. For preventive care, Jada explained. Catch issues early, empower patients. Celeste volunteered, leading art therapy sessions. Seniors painted their stories, colors healing wounds. Marcus and Sarah welcomed a baby girl, named Eleanor Celeste. The birth at St. Jude was joyous. Holding her granddaughter, Celeste whispered, You'll never know betrayal, only love. Allison's final letter arrived years later, a rambling apology from prison. I was broken. Forgive me. Celeste didn't respond, but in her heart, she released the last bitterness. The story circled back to the lake, where Celeste, now 70, fished with her granddaughter. Life is like casting a line, she said. Patience, hope, and sometimes, you catch more than you expect. And so, the new story of Celeste Montgomery unfolded, not of betrayal but of rebirth, detailed in every sunrise, every laugh, every blooming flower in her garden.